And BK is back again. Yeah, if you saw my last video, then you may have heard me say that I got a new computer because the old one was having some problems. Well, this isn't even that same computer. It's not even the replacement. Yeah, things just kept going wrong. Yeah, BK isn't just one letter away from BL, which stands for bad luck. But I'm sure things will get better now. The editing software that I'm using right now is also completely new to me, so don't expect too high of a production value on this. I'm sure things will get better as soon as I've got more experience with it. Yeah, I stress the word experience there because in this video I'm going to give you recipes for how you can combine enchantments for all pieces of armor, all of your tools, all of your weapons in such a way that it won't cost you too much XP. Actually, these will be the cheapest ones as to XP costs. I do need to stress though that these recipes are only for Java Edition. In BEDROCK the system is completely different, so if you were to use my recipes on this, you will not get the same results. This is about the versions starting from 1.8, so the Anvil mechanics have changed in 1.8 and they are still working as they were back then, and this will continue for the future. One little change that came about in 1.16 is for the hoe. So now you can put some more enchantments on that. I think that's the only one. I hope I'm not forgetting anything. If so, you will hear later on. But firstly, I will give you a little explanation on XP itself so that you can understand why the recipes I will be showing later on are the cheapest possible in XP cost. Surely you know how to get XP in Minecraft, so this is not a subject that we will look at right now. But I do want to mention what my personal favorite way is, and it's this last one. It's very easy to get lots of XP just by trading efficiently. For that you don't need a massive trading hall, so there is no need to put any stress on your world or on a server or realm. You just need to make sure that the system is balanced. That's all. After taking in certain amounts of XP, you can get an extra XP level on your bar below. It's those levels that you will be using to place enchantments on your armor, tools and weapons, or to combine them. An important point is that for every next level you want to gain, you will need to absorb more XP than before, and therefore virtually they become more expensive. For example, to level up from 0 to 6 XP levels, you need 72 XP points. This amount is exactly the same as what you would need to level up from 22 to 23. Another important thing is to realize how combining enchantments works. This can be done with an anvil. Any item you put in the left slot is the item that will continue existing after the action, but the item in the right slot will count as a sacrifice after the enchantments that were on it will be transferred to the first item, respecting a specific set of rules. You can combine two of the same item, and it is possible to put enchantments from a book onto an item, if the item allows for that, of course, but other combinations are not possible. You can't combine a pickaxe with a bow, for example, or put a book in the left slot and an item in the right slot. That won't work. After each manipulation on an item using an anvil, that item will get a penalty cost, which will have an impact on future attempts to combine it any further. The total cost for combining enchantments is determined by the sum of the penalty costs of both items in the anvil slots and the enchantments on the object that will be sacrificed, plus an additional cost of 1 level for renaming the item and 2 levels for when both items are not books and the targeted item doesn't have full durability. When you combine two of the same item that don't have full durability, the durability of the final item will be the sum of the former two plus 12% of the full durability of that object. To rename an item, it is best to not do that separately, even though it wouldn't increase the penalty cost of the item itself. If you wish to do that while using my recipes, I will explain later when it is best to do so. I could start to explain exactly how the costs of combining items is calculated, but it is needlessly complex. For example, using enchantments on books has different costs than the same enchantments on an item. So I will skip that from this video and just point you to my recipes. You can take my word on it that these are the cheapest ways that exist. In my recipes I start with an unenchanted item and add the enchantments using books that haven't been used to combine before and therefore do not have a penalty cost to start with. I would propose you get those books from trading with villagers, which on itself would give you some more XP to use later on. Just like with books that have several enchantments on them, like those you can find in treasure chests, it's also possible to figure out the cheapest recipes for items that already have some enchantments on them, as you would get by using an enchantment table. I would have included recipes for those in this video, but there are simply too many combinations to start with, and this video would become hours long. In most cases, it wouldn't be advised to use an enchantment table on them first anyway, since you would have to start off with at least 30 XP levels on your bar, and as you remember from earlier on, leveling up to 30 is quite costly. Going from 0 to 30 levels costs nearly as much as going from 0 to 1 200 times. Now I hear you think, but BK, if you already have the levels, then it doesn't matter how I use them. Well, you would be partly correct. On each recipe is mentioned how many levels you will need in total to finish all the combining. If you already have more on your XP bar, you can safely do it all, but remember that you will always be using the most expensive levels first. Doing a recipe of 50 levels, starting off with 70 on your bar, that will cost you more XP than if you only had 60 on your bar to start with. But technically it doesn't make a difference. It only makes a difference if you need to level up. A bit more tricky is it when you don't have all the levels but some. If so, always do the available combinations first that cost the most. Let's look at the first recipe so that I can explain this exactly. So this is how the recipes will be shown. In this case it is one for boots. I use the image of diamond boots, but you can apply it on boots of all materials. That doesn't change the cost whatsoever. When you look at the ingredients, you will see that there are 2 Blast Protection 3 books in it. When I assembled the recipes, I always made sure that in the end the item will have these specific enchantments to the highest level. For Blast Protection it is 4, but using level 3 books is an acceptable compromise when you are playing in survival. Don't worry, there is a similar recipe using the Blast Protection 4 book as well. This is just an example. Another important thing about protection, Blast Protection is more expensive than the other protections. If you see me using the word protection only in a recipe, that means it is either regular protection, fire protection, or projectile protection. You can interchange these 3. Only when I use Blast Protection you need to make that distinction. Additionally, this recipe is if you want soul speed on your boots. And Frostwalker instead of Depth Strider. Again, for all possible logical combinations I have provided recipes. You can't just take away any of the ingredients from the recipe or change them and assume it would still give you the best way to combine everything. No, for each specific bunch of enchantments you need a precise recipe. I hope the way to use these schematics is clear. On the left side you can see all the items that will be used. In this case boots, and the rest are all enchanted books. When you need to combine 2 of them, they are connected by a larger box just to the right of them. The number inside that box shows you how much XP levels it will cost to make that specific combination. So in this case, combining the boots with the Soul Speed 3 book should cost you 12 levels. Combine the Thorns 3 book with Frostwalker 2 will cost you 4 levels, and so on. It should be obvious that you can't make the combination valuing 14 levels before you did the other 2 that I just described. And so you continue until you have done all of the combinations in this order, using a total of 75 XP levels. If you choose to rename the item, as I always do, it will cost you 1 extra level. you do this best during one of the combinations with the item itself, and if you can, during the cheapest one in the schedule. In this case, that would be the one where you combine the boots with the Soul Speed 3 bow for 12 XP levels, which then would become 13. And this is where I will be leaving you now. The rest of the video is a collection of over 70 recipes that you might need at some point in time while playing Minecraft. I hope that you do understand that I couldn't really add an inventory below this video with all the different combinations in this list, but they are sorted together according to the item that is enchanted. For most of the items you should be able to find the recipes you need specifically. Even though there are a lot of boots and swords in the list, mind you. If you have any questions or requests, you can always leave a comment or send me a private message. But for now, BK says bye.